flaps are nice and aligned.
Stop it! Stop it!
Hello. What's this?
This is Albert C350, which we did a video on in April last year, April 2021.
Yeah.
Which was, to be fair, it wasn't long after we started the channel, and it was pretty much some rips, no talking, just just a very quick video when we were setting up on a hybrid turbo.
Yep.
It's now come back to have the intercooler system remade after he's done one himself, and he basically wants it all hard piped, alley welded, and a bigger cooler. So, as you can see, I got a little bit happy and started taking it apart.
Yep. The plan is obviously to fit a cooler. There is no off-the-shelf solution for this, is there?
Well, apparently, so I've had a look at the cooler. Obviously, he supplied the cooler, a load of pipe work, a load of silicone. And the cooler he supplied, apparently a guy makes them for these. The picture we've got is obviously of it, bolted to one of these. The issue is with the way it's been done, the fittings are like the BMW fittings, which are, obviously if you know your BMs and your BM intercoolers, you have like a push fitting with a seal in it, and they have a big metal clip. So obviously the first thing we've got to do is cut them off, and just replace it with straight pipe with swaged ends. But yeah, so I'll be honest though, there aren't really many direct fit solutions for these.
There's none that I'm aware of.
No, I mean we've had this conversation with multiple customers with C350s, and we've kind of looked and looked and looked. It was the same with this, to the point where he just got a cooler and kind of made something work. Yeah.
Well, I know that his motivation for this is obviously hard pipe it because, you know, from memory, again, it was like April 2021. This is on like 2.8 bar boost or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's nearly 3 bar boost, and actually boost pipes have been blowing off left, right, and centre.
Yeah. I mean, we've also found a leak on the pipe down there, and you can see that there's oil coming out from one of the joins, and obviously if it's not liquid tight, it's not going to be airtight.
So there's a boost leak there.
Yeah, so there'll be a boost leak, which will be obviously causing to smoke, etc. So that's the other thing is obviously hard piping it. So you've literally got a joint either end is the ideal. So obviously having minimal places it can leak, either leak from or pipes can pop off from. So that's kind of where we are really.
I think we're doing some maintenance and stuff on this, aren't we? Service,
we've got
stuff.
Just interim service to do. New front pads potentially going to be upgrading the brakes.
I think you're looking at C63 stuff.
Yeah, he's either looking at C63 brakes or Tarox discs and pads.
Yeah, I think he's leaning towards the former. I think then the plan is to do some dyno work on it. So we're going to send it on the dyno.
Yeah, so we're going to get it back on the dyno. It was kind of like a bit of a map check. Yeah. But obviously we have.
We found a boost leak and stuff.
We found some little issues that are going to cause the kind of issues he's mentioned.
Yeah.
But the plan pretty much is, once we've got this work done, we're going to get it on the rollers, we're going to spin it up, data log it, see what it's making. Obviously, once we're done before it fully goes back together, we'll smoke test it just to make sure all the intercooler work we've done is airtight.
Yeah, which if you own one of these, that is a very fun process because of the size of the intakes.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that will kind of be that, get it on the rollers, spin it up, data log, and just see where we are power-wise, see what IATs we're doing, all the normal stuff.
Well, obviously this will have a bigger cooler on it, so hopefully, I mean, admittedly, it's not the same dyno, is it? Because we
did.
The old
dyno.
So
August last year, we changed over to our Maha MSR 500, which is what we have now. So
we had some wheel spin issues on the old dyno that
we did, yeah. I mean, to be fair, we had that was obviously if you watched the video roughly August last year of us changing dynos, that was one of the biggest reasons. We struggled with grips so much with more powerful petrol cars or petrol turbo, and with a lot of diesels because they produce so much torque, we couldn't get the grip. We had a Saab on the dyno yesterday. Don't get me wrong, the first pull was a cool pull. The second pull, obviously everything had a bit more heat through it, and it made pretty much bang on the same numbers it made on the old dyno. Sometimes you'll see, normally 5-10 horsepower discrepancies, bit of torque.
But I think the thing is, brief conversations I've had with the owner, he just wants to see the biggest numbers possible. I think he's trying to push boundaries because there's very limited amount for these.
No, there is, yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation with multiple people over the years, and to be honest, most people will go stage 1, they'll gut the DPF, do like
EGR.
well, kind of like a soft stage 2, because obviously they haven't done the cooler, and most people leave them alone.
Because it's not usually worth
and like I said to a lot of customers, you know, realistically, out of the 3 litre diesels out there, the BMW is the one to buy, because the 335 or 535, I mean, at stage 2 you can see 375 horsepower on an LCI. Then you've got, you know, the Volkswagen Audi 3 litre diesel around the same sort of year. Well, no, so a bit earlier, like your one, you know, stage 2 took 300 and yours what, 301 horsepower. But these at stage 3, you're talking, I mean, like I said, we've done 329, I think, on this.
These are notorious for not making much over 330. That's just, that is what it is.
But that is, and that's, you know, I've had the conversation with a lot of different customers, and it's one of them where if you want all the power, just go and buy the BM. Yeah, it's far easier.
It's not only it's more tunable, but there's a lot more available. Yeah. These are so restricted what's available because what it costs to go stage 3 and above, the benefits aren't there where they would be with other manufacturers.
No, I agree totally.
But it's cool to see someone trying to push envelopes. We do like that.
Yeah, so, no, we're happy. The thing is, we're happy to be part of it, and
hopefully make some millions of pounds.
Yeah.
So obviously at the moment we've got the front off because we've got a bit happy with the process. Effectively, we're going to just try and make everything fit and get the cooler done.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the first thing now is going to be get the cooler out that he's put in.
Yep.
I've already centre lined the intercooler. I've just got to centre line the template. Just a case of get these bits out of the way, and then we're just going to have a measure up and then work out roughly where we've got to modify in the crash bar.
And go from there.
And then start cutting it out and get the cooler mounted primarily. That's kind of the first thing that needs to happen. Then we can start looking at pipework and routing the pipework. And obviously, once we're comfortable where the intercooler's mounted, I've got to chop the fittings off the intercooler, weld them on.
This is what you have to do when parts aren't made to bolt on.
Yeah.
So
no, the thing is, it's a shame because obviously, if somebody's fabricated this to order, they could have just put the fittings
right fittings on the end.
Because now it's a load of time for us to make it right when it could have just been done right in the first place. But
it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's not the end of the world. I mean, the inlet and outlet on the cooler is the same diameter as the pipe we're going to use anyway, so it's not a massive stress. It's just a bit more time.
Okay.
But yes, we can do all that. Get the cooler mounted up. Modify the intake and outtake pipe or inlet and outlet pipes on the cooler, and then go from there.
And that's one step closer to sending it. Good afternoon, Beth.
Good afternoon.
So that cooler's different to what it was yesterday.
Yes.
So would you like to update us with some progress information?
Well, with much monkeying around with grinder, we now have a different intercooler.
We do.
It doesn't fit the same as in the picture.
No,
there
not
are
quite.
multiple modifications needed. Like when you kind of get it on and look at how everything's been designed, it's actually quite a decent design. The issue is, for example, like the tray on the bottom has got to slide into a couple of plastic fittings on the car. Well, it needs to go that way, like literally like a mil, but this way it's come over like a quarter of an inch.
So they're not quite in the right place.
Yeah, so it's not a case of like we've put the cooler off centre, it's a case that the tray is physically too small.
Yes.
There's a notch cut out in the back for one of the aircon pipes, which we've got to modify because it's not wide enough.
Yeah.
But apart from that, not bad. But we're basically just trying to get it mocked up in place so we know it's right before I then cut the fittings off and weld new fittings on the cooler. So yeah, that's kind of
where we are.
Yeah, pretty much. So we've now got to take it off just to modify the tray. Because if we do it up now, we'll pierce the aircon pipe,
which we don't want to do.
Definitely don't want to
do that.
In
an ideal world.
No. So yes, we're just going to do that, and then just kind of jiggle a few bits about, get it back on, and then start looking at obviously welding.
Lopping some pipes off.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, to be fair, once we've got this sitting where I want it, the first thing I'm probably going to do is cut these fittings off, weld the new fittings on, just so that's done.
Yeah.
And then kind of play it from there, really.
Okay, awesome.
About the plan.
Okay, well, let's catch up with that then. Make sure your flats are nice and aligned.
There you go, which is
Sweet. Yeah. Born ready, mate. Craig David style. Good evening, Joseph.
Good evening.
So, where are we up to? How are we? And all this other jazz.
So, cooler's mounted. Pipe on the passenger side's been fabricated. It's all on, all smoke tested, all leak free, all buttoned up. We've done front brake pads, oil and filter changes in progress, and it's literally just, we're pretty much at the point of getting the last couple of brackets on, putting the bumper on, getting on the dyno. Just for a power run, bit of data logging, see what we've got. We will put up a picture now.
Somewhere.
Of
That side.
Yeah, we'll put up a picture of a comparison in size between the new cooler and the old one. Obviously, this is quite a lot bigger.
Yeah, it is.
So hopefully, she will do all right.
Sweet. So, let's get on the dyno basically at this point.
Yeah, we just basically got to get the service finished, get the front end back on, get on the rollers.
So, we are on the dyno,
We are.
finally.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a journey.
Been emotional.
I'd say it's been a pleasure, but that is not true.
No, it's not true. It's been a nightmare. So,
It's been very hot doing all this alley welding as well in this heat. It's not been fun.
so I can't remember what we said at the end of the last recording. Obviously, we're basically just buttoning it up, weren't we? So
Yeah,
we're
so
now buttoned.
basically, yeah, we were buttoning it up, getting it back together, so we could get it on the rollers, just to spin it up, do some data logs, and just check everything's okay. Because there'd been kind of a debate as such that apparently there were some issues with the tune about smoke and things like that. And the thing is, you know, I mean, PDs, for example, we'll use them as an example because they're very well known for being horrendously smoky, especially with big turbos, big injectors. There are probably going to be people who disagree with that statement. I probably wouldn't bother dropping a comment because you'll get ignored.
Yeah.
The fact is there are tuners out there, tuners I know personally as well, who can tune them very clean. A lot of the time, that's not the way they're tuned for multiple reasons.
It's not just that. A lot of the time, the customers want the most powerful.
Yeah,
possible.
and that's the thing. It's not because I don't agree they can be tuned clean. They can, but it depends what you want out of it. You know, a lot of people will run them rich to run nitrous. Like I said, there's multiple reasons. But one thing we kept coming back to with the customer was smoke.
Yeah.
Now, and this is something I seem to say a lot, and I think people obviously don't watch all of the video to hear me say it, which is why there are then comments saying, "Oh, it's very smoky." Obviously, when you're in a building, for example, you're in a cell, there's not much air flowing over or under the car, which will obviously break the smoke up, like when you're on the road. So a car that looks smoky on the dyno in here actually will be quite clean on the road. You might get a bit of a haze. And obviously I test drive everything on the road that we tune on the dyno once I'm finished. And it, you know, part of it's checking smoke levels. Another part of it is seeing how it drives.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I mean, I've had some issues recently with an MX-5 we did, where I steady stated it on the dyno, but then you drive it on the road, and even though I've tuned these load sites, when you stab the throttle and go into it, it goes really rich.
Yeah.
So I've had to spend time obviously tweaking that to get it right. And with this, it was very, you know, it was quite clean. You get a bit of a haze, but obviously, you know, we're running quite a big fuel request because we're running a lot of boost, so we need the fuel there. So when the customer said it was really smoky, I was like, well, I know it's not because I've been driving it.
I mean, people's really varies a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what people might call excessive, I might not say is so excessive.
Completely normal for a car of this tune.
Exactly, yeah. And obviously we, you know, stuff like this isn't new to us, so we kind of know what to expect. But some of the issues he was raising, like, you know, a lot of smoke, poor MPG. Obviously on a setup like this, you are going to sacrifice fuel, especially if you drive. I mean, if you drive it hard, definitely. So yeah, like I said, we wanted to get back on the dyno, data log it, see what it's making.
Well, we did find.
Yeah, we found three obvious boost leaks. I mean, one of them was on a join. The other two looked like the end tanks on the cooler, like the cooler's just starting to come apart.
I did actually get some pictures showing the leaks on the end tanks.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the picture we showed earlier in the video, you can actually see the oil, or there's oil base starting to come out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I even code read it before it went on the dyno, and there was a code for boost pressure too low.
Yeah.
So it only further supports my
There's a
theory
hardware issue.
Yeah, that there was a hardware issue. Unfortunately, and obviously this isn't a stab at this customer or any customer, the problem is people, I don't think, I mean, they don't ever think their car can have an issue, even when it's not new.
Tunes tend to be scapegoated a lot.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think we live in a bit of a blame culture where everybody is to blame but them or their car.
Yeah.
In many trades as well, not just our industry. And the problem is, you know, we deal with a lot of people. I mean, we've got a vast customer base. We deal with a horrendous amount of cars. So it's never just one car or one car or one customer for me. It could be 20 people with 20 different cars. And, you know, it's not that we get a lot of complaints, because really we don't.
No.
You know, we've got a very high satisfaction rate from customers. I mean, I've got customers now that I've had from since, you know, like day one, back like 8 years ago, who have never gone anywhere else. They've only ever used me because, you know, we get on, they like the work. But obviously it does get a bit tiring hearing people insinuate it could be the tune. And don't get me wrong, sometimes there are issues with tunes, they need going over, like the MX-5. And obviously I work with the customer to sort that out. The car's now done, he's over the moon with it, all good. But yeah, like I said, it does get a bit tiring, especially when you work on as many cars as we do. So that was kind of the idea. Like I said, we'd already found issues that we know are going to cause the symptoms that he's seeing. So as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of a null point. But it's like I said, we wanted to get on the dyno, see what it makes, get some logs out of it. Obviously, we've got a previous video from April 2021. Yeah. And like I said before, there will most likely be discrepancies with horsepower and torque. One thing we used to see with our old dyno, which we have seen with other dynos with a very light roller set, is you'll get larger torque figures. I'm not going to go too much into the technical side, but it'll be, I mean, even when one of my cars was mapped on a colleague's dyno, because we physically couldn't get the traction on our old one, the difference between running it there and here is like 200 Newton meters. That will kind of be what it will be, but it's more of a health check just to see how everything is. Yeah. And then potentially look at further options moving forward.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's stop the gas bag and run it up.
Let's do that.
Well, that is a lovely looking graph, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
It really is spot on.
Yeah, so we came in, we'll put a picture of the graph up momentarily. Yeah. We came in 7 horsepower under. Yeah. And there is a bit of a torque discrepancy.
Yes, there is.
But to be fair, that was anticipated. I mean, the roller set in this dyno is a very, very heavy roller set. Yeah. Also, the way the dyno starts to run is very different to our old one. They don't hold them on load as long, or as aggressively, I've found. But yeah, I mean, data logs are clean. We are running a lot of boost, which is probably why the old intercooler has kind of had it.
If it wasn't up to scratch, it's going to be a problem, yeah.
But with where we're at kind of now, I mean, we're running, what we'd consider to be the right amount of fuel for the boost we're at. So the next thing really is going to be, if he wants to chase some more power, I think it's going to be a case of meth, bigger turbo, fuel system modifications, and kind of see where we end up. But I mean,
these are notorious for not making power, and we've said it several times.
No, definitely. I mean, the thing is, to get where you're at now is a considerable amount of time and money.
Yes.
I mean, we've got a video, I believe, on the channel of a 2014. It was just before they changed to the W205, and I mean, we did a stage 1 tune. Don't get me wrong, the car was immaculate and it was super low miles. And I think that ended up at about 304 horsepower. So you're talking a difference of,
on a very, very good day where it's not quite as warm as this, maybe 30 brake if the stars are shining on you.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I always respect people who want to push boundaries and want to chase the unknown. Like, it's a very big part of what we do, and that's the only reason there are so many of us doing this, is to try and get, to that next level and that next result. But sometimes, and especially for myself, you have to weigh up, is the cost and the time worth it? And the thing is, I'm super guilty. I've built so many cars for myself over the years. Obviously, we're in the middle of doing the Clio. I've slammed thousands into that car, and it's all money you never get back. Because I normally build a car, enjoy it for a little bit, and go, right, cool, what's the next thing? Because the build is what I enjoy. And like I said, we've all done it. We're guilty of doing it, but it's kind of at the
passion,
point where
that's what it is.
It is passion, but we're kind of at the point now where it's like, well, how much further do you go? How much more money do you throw before calling it?
I think customers' attitude is basically, he's this far in, so there can only be further.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I respect that entirely, and we've already said to him, we're more than happy to help as much as we can, and happy to help try and push it even further. I mean, with his first video, like I said, back in April 2021, the amount of people I've had get in touch asking about turbo systems, intercooler systems, doing packages, a lot of them have been from the USA. Apparently there's not many people doing these in America.
No, well, American petrol's very cheap.
Yeah.
People tend to drive petrol.
So, but it's, we're more than happy to help however we can and help see where we can go with it. But
yes, I mean, obviously, just referencing very quickly, obviously you said we are where we should be in terms of fueling. Obviously, to increase that fueling, if the system was capable of it, which I don't believe it is going to be, you're then going to create a load more smoke. Yeah, that was obviously. So,
skipping back to that was kind of the issue. Is petrol or diesel tuning. Obviously, you'll run your boost, and obviously you'll have your AFR that you want to run, or air fuel ratio. And the kind of, like, once you're there, like, that is it. Yeah, you run it richer. Obviously, with something like a diesel, it's going to smoke even more. Yeah. Obviously, excessive fuel in a diesel will show high EGT, or exhaust gas temperature, which obviously, if they get too high, can be very dangerous. Yeah. So that is kind of, without skipping too far backwards, that's kind of where it is. It's and we are running a lot of boost. I mean, it comes in peaks like 2.8 bar, and then it's tapering off to 2.75 bar.
Which is basically the limits of this turbo.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of the limit we've been given for the turbo. So we've said, well, we'll send it and we'll see what it does. I mean, the intercooler system's handling it well. Ambient on the run was just over 25 degrees. The cooler was at like 42. I think by 40, it was just around 40 by the end of the run.
Which is a respectable reduction.
That is respectable, yeah. So the cooler's not performing too badly, but it's kind of without throwing much more at it. Where we are now, meth injection is probably going to be the best way to gain some additional power. Quickly and inexpensively in comparison,
because otherwise you're probably talking massive hybrid turbo, fuel rail modification, sensors, pumps, etc. Yeah. Cool, okay, well, I hope our customer is happy with the graph, because we are. I guess we'll pick this up as and when numbers are being chased.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.